Yo, what's going on, y'all? Welcome into another episode of Hot Box Talk podcast with your hosts, Corey and Khalil. How are you doing today, bro? What's going on with you? How you feeling?
Feeling good, bro. Feeling blessed. How about you?
I'm doing good. Let's start it off. Super Bowl 56 went down this past Sunday. Both of us had the Rams winning. Both of our scores were wrong, but both of us had the Rams winning. Overall, before we dive deep in, what do you think about the game? Your overall Super Bowl winner for the season happened. It was confirmed. Your preseason pick. So, how are you feeling about that overall, and just your thoughts about the game?
No, it was a great game. Really from start to finish. It was a little slow in the middle coming out of halftime. The halftime show definitely had everybody still rocking, but first half was electric. A little bit of slow in the mid second half. Then the fourth quarter it picked right back up. A lot of questionable calls at late. We'll get into, but I thought that it was a clean game by the refs, considering that they called nothing in the first half. So, they made up for what they didn't call in the first half and the second half a little bit. I know people would have their opinions on that, but all in all, I thought it was a cool game. Congrats to the Rams, congrats to Sean McVay, and congrats to the Bengals as well. They had a crazy season. Let's not allow their season to get forgotten just because they lost in the biggest game, but they had a great season. And yeah, all in all, great game.
Yeah, I thought it was a good game as well. Very interesting back and forth aspect of the game. Huge momentum swings. Typical. You had your overall finisher, Aaron Donald, in the game for the Rams and secure them the victory. Before we get into that, before we get into the game in general, like you just mentioned, halftime show. Some of our favorite artists of past were there: Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Mary J, Eminem. Yeah, Anderson Paak on the drums. I noticed him. And then you also had who was the last guy not named 50 Cent? Yeah, 50 Cent was there
30
as well. What do you think about the halftime show? Great nostalgia for some of our old heads, as well as people like us who listen to some of these music. What do you think about the halftime show? And I know it brought a lot of people out. So, what do you think about
Right,
it?
right. I thought it was great. Obviously, we're young, so I don't know where this falls as far as greatest halftime shows ever. Definitely, probably one of the greatest I've witnessed. Probably it's up there with, the Beyonce performances, the Bruno Mars performances. But my personal favorite female R&B singer of all time, Mary J. Blige, came out and killed it. Shout out to Monet Tejada. Shout out to Kanan as well. Came out, did his thing, started off upside down. And a lot of people showed their age on the timeline when they said, "Why is 50 Cent upside down?" As if they've never seen the In the Club video. So don't outdate yourselves by saying stupid shit on the timeline, kids. But halftime show was great. I was watching the show with a guy that's also in our fantasy league. Shout out friend of the show, Cam. And when Snoop came out, we had a side bet. You know what I'm saying? Whether or not Snoop was going to come out smoking on stage. I'm like, no, there's no way. This is the NFL. Roger Goodell already told him we're not playing that today. No. But then we saw the clip before he came out, right before. And he was banging that blunt like that was the last blunt he was ever going to smoke. So shout out to Snoop. Shout out to Dr. Dre. Definitely reminded the world that, what I'm saying, like they said on the song, it's still Dre Day. You know what I'm saying? So I'm still one of the greatest producers of all time. Like I said, my favorite singer of all time killed it. K. Dot, Kendrick Lamar, shout out to him. That's a
I
guy
was just
that
forgot
you
about
and I
him.
have been a little worried about just based off where he's been. Like where the hell is Kendrick Lamar? He came out, killed it. But I was also talking to Cam at the time, and throughout all the performances, I just kept saying like bring on a white boy. Like I'm ready to hear this crowd go crazy. Eminem came out, did his thing. It was a great show all in all. Shout out to all the performers. Shout out to Anderson Paak too on the drums, smiling ear to ear as Lose Yourself was playing. That was probably like a personal highlight, just seeing him smile ear to ear. So shout out to everybody involved, man. Great show.
So mad at Snoop Dogg for hitting a blunt before performing. Like, you guys got to understand, this is what this man do, bro. It don't matter what situation, he's gonna get his blunt in. Damn near what he's known for almost. So honestly, I don't really understand why it was such a controversy with that. He was doing it away from people, away from the situation. If he was smoking in the stadium, I ain't gonna lie, that's certified. That's definitely 100% certified. If he was smoking inside the stadium, but honestly, y'all gotta expect Snoop Dogg to be smoking, bro. But A couple of keys for us in the game was, of course, the trenches. But I mentioned the fact of the Bengals having to stop the run game of the Rams and shutting down the middle of the field would help them in order to win the Super Bowl. And I mentioned guys like Logan Wilson, 55 and black, who most of y'all had a viewing party of, first time viewing party of for the first time ever. And he showed out on the national stage. You have 57 Jermaine all over the field for the run game. Von Bell didn't make too much of an impact as I have, but he was still somewhat there.
It was solid. Definitely a solid
Jesse
game.
Bates, Jesse Bates got himself a pick at the end of the first half, I want to say. So ultimately, I think just in the first half, you had the Rams jump out to that quick seven. No, it was 7-3. I think it was 7-0. Then it was 7-3. Then it was 13-3
because they missed that PAT.
because they missed the PAT. So you had the two quick touchdowns. The first by your boy Odell, who had a great game. I feel badly for him getting hurt. I feel like it sucked the entire life of the Rams, and so it took them about 2 quarters to understand how to play without him, which was pretty funny to see. Just first half thoughts. Like you said, pretty slow game to start the game, but you did have touchdowns from Odell, touchdowns from Cup, and I think that really sparked off the Rams, at least to get them going. What you think about that first half, and just in a whole, the Rams' success in the first half based off of what we were talking about, which was utilizing Odell, utilizing Cooper Cup, and so on.
Right. Well, like you said, get well soon, Odell Beckham, my personal favorite player in the league. I had a prop saying that you were going to be an anytime touchdown scorer. It was great to see you cash that out for the first score of the game. It was devastating to see him get hurt again. For our fans that keep up with Odell and, his journey, same knee that he hurt last year against the Bengals. How ironic, he tore his ACL. He's tore the same ACL against the Bengals in both games. So hope he gets well soon. He's a free agent this year, so I wonder what that means for him. I wonder what that means for him and his plans. I know that knee blowing out probably cost himself a lot of dollars. He was, based off the way he played with the Rams, safe to say he was on his way to getting a bag. So hopefully that's still in play. We'll see what's up with him. But as far as the overall game, like we said in the preview podcast, it would be one in the trenches. And like you said, it was just crazy to see, like, when Odell came to the Rams, people said, oh, he's just trying to walk into a ring. He's trying to go to an easy Super Bowl appearance. But we saw with our own 2 eyes how drastically the offense had to change once it was just Cooper Kupp out there to depend on. So, I mean, all the offensive super team narratives, I think, were put to rest, at least, like I said, on the offensive standpoint, at least I think they were put to rest once Odell went down, because we saw how pedestrian those other receivers are. I've been critical of Van Jefferson all season. Odell's backup, whose name is escaping me. Ben
Skoranek. He didn't really get no time this season, but
he's the culprit of Matthew Stafford's second pick. That tip pass that went into my boy's hands on the Bengals. So I mean, all in all, Odell get well. Their offense probably will need some tweaking this summer. We have to see what's up with Robert Woods. Is he going to come back? Is he going to be ready by opening night next year? Who knows? But all in all, like we said, once Odell went down, the game was definitely one in the trenches. Aaron Donald, Von Miller, Leonard Floyd, they just said, we're not going to lose. We're in our home stadium. These guys can't hold me. Joe Burrow getting sacked 7 times. That's alarming. He was sacked 19 times throughout this entire playoff run, 51 times in the regular season. We all know math. That's 70 sacks for a guy coming off of a blown knee. So Cincinnati Bengals player personnel, you have to get this man some protection, or you guys will probably never make a Super Bowl again. So, but like you said, great game all in all. Congrats to the Rams. Let's see what they do next year.
Like I said, Bengals got off to a nice start, scoring that touchdown. Then, like you guys mentioned, Ben Skoranek drops the pass from Matthew Stafford, the very next offensive play, and it's a pick. So at this point, I'm thinking to myself, all right, bet, here we go. They're about to score another touchdown and take a commanding lead, and I at least think that my 4.5 is safe nonetheless. But I do think the Bengals are going to go out here and possibly win this game. Then Aaron Donald happens. Aaron Donald and Von Miller happens. If you watched our preview, I asked Khalil about Von Miller and Aaron Donald 2+ sacks. Should have parlayed that because I would have been because it would have been a nice one. I definitely called both of them men getting 2 sacks, which they did on the day. Um, Overall, I mean, what do you think went wrong for the Bengals? Is it simply the only thing that we can put on it is D line, or is there a miscue from Joe Burrow here and there that cost them? Because I thought probably played his worst mental game ever that I've seen him, as in like skipping passes into the dirt, not throwing the flat route when the guy jumps the inside pass,
Mhm.
constantly taking sacks. I mean, he was moving against KC. He was
Mhm.
moving against KC. He was stepping up in the pocket, moving. Is that an indictment to KC's pass rush? We'll get into that in the offseason, but we'll look into that. But what did you think is the biggest problem for the Bengals, or was it just that the Rams were just so good on that defensive line and what they were doing?
I thought I thought Joe Burrow just wasn't trying to take what the Rams were giving him. I thought there was definitely a less methodical approach and just passing scheme. I felt like he was trying to make up the entire deficit in one drive, which is not going to happen. We saw 2 weeks ago in KC how methodical he was. We're down 21-3, whatever it was, and we're just going to slowly make our comeback and then give ourselves a chance in overtime to steal the game, which they did. But definitely was a little definitely showed their I think Zach Taylor and Joe Burrow definitely both showed their youthfulness as coaching quarterbacks. But honestly, that's just part of the process. I mean, Kansas City probably went through the same thing last year against the Bucs in the Super Bowl, where they just were impatient on offense, trying to make up the entire deficit in 1 or 2 drives instead of taking the flat routes, like you said, taking the checkdowns, taking the short routes, taking the middle routes, not going for the whole spiel in one drive. So I definitely think it was a learning experience for Burrow and Taylor and the whole offense. But I think the only thing they need is an offensive line. They have 3,000-yard receivers. Like you said, they have capable DBs. Shout out to Eli Apple. It's good to know that you're alive. He took a week off of Twitter. I was nervous for his health and safety. I tweeted, somebody check on Eli Apple, make sure the man is still alive. Like, goodness gracious, but thank God he's well. Yeah, I think their O line is the only thing that needs a tune up. They may have to add another corner, just for security, but they get Joe O line. I think they're a force to be reckoned with for this decade, the 2020s.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. I think just it's the O line play in general, but at the same time, I just look at it. It's just so hard to say they did this so badly, giving up 7 sacks when
Mm-hmm.
you're just going against two generational Hall of Fame guys. I mean, it's hard. It's hard to do anything to the point when you got Aaron Donald, and it's the factor of the Rams that it made it so much easier is the fact that we've seen now two straight Super Bowls where if your front four can create some type of pressure, it creates just a different aspect of the game because Jalen Ramsey is a good DB back there, but
He was getting
the,
cooked.
the other he was getting cooked. Jalen Ramsey is the most. I would say he's the most notable DB back there. The other four
Mhm.
of those guys, except for maybe a Eric Weddle, you can't really date. You don't know these guys, and you don't know how they can play. But when you only have to defend somebody for a second and a half to 2 seconds, because
Right.
if the quarterback's being pressured immediately, it makes your job so much easier. It makes your job so much easier, and it just changed the factor of the game. So while the O line it was bad, 7 sacks was they was going to give up. I thought they were going to touch 9 and maybe even double digits because of how good Vaughn is, Aaron Donald is, and Leonard Floyd. But in that second half, the game got a little bit stagnant, and both sides got into a little bit of a punt fest,
Hmm.
especially in the end around the end of the third quarter into the beginning of the fourth. And then you had what they're dubbing the Matt Stafford drive. I That's a really hard thing for me to say. Not the biggest fan of Matthew Stafford. I respect his game, but what they're dubbing the Matthew Stafford drive started on their own territory after a bunch of punts from both sides, and you ended up getting into a 4th-and-1 situation where they had no choice. Go to your best
Hmm.
player, Cooper Kupp, jet sweep. What a this! I mean, 6'3", 210, cutting up like that. I like the vision of a running back, the hands of a wide receiver, of a agile like ninja, panther cat, whatever you want to call him. I mean, it's really hard. for me to think about how this guy might destroy my team for the next couple years. But
The league.
yeah, the league in general. Just then you have after that play, I feel like it just sparked a different thing for the Rams. I just felt like after that they got that 4th and 1, they were like, "Well, there it is. We're
We're in
not
it now.
losing.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
can win it now.
we're just not losing this game. At least we're not gonna. The offense wasn't gonna stop them from losing the game.
Right, right.
So then you're driving. You have probably Matthew Stafford's best play of his career with the no look across the middle to Cooper Cup for about 30-ish yards or so. I'm thinking to myself, of course, while watching it, like, what the hell are we doing? Not doubling Cooper Cup, some just two guys over top of him. But when you see the end zone angle of it, and you see Matthew Stafford's head is tilted all the way to the right, throws it across the middle on a dime. It's really hard.
Nasty.
It's really hard
Nasty.
for me to say, oh, Von Bell or Bates or anybody wasn't in position because they're reading the quarterback. They're doing what you're doing. You ended up having the Rams in almost field goal territory, but down 4. They needed a touchdown. So they were going to have to drive the entirety of the field. And you have the Rams going down. So you had 1st and goal, incomplete pass. I want to say it was a run, actually. 1st and goal was a run.
Mhm.
2nd and goal was an incomplete pass. And then 3rd and goal comes up incomplete. At first, I should say incomplete pass. But then you have a version holding call that I want to bring up with you and your thoughts on it for the world. Now, you have a game where we were talking about the referees aren't calling much. They're not really calling anything in terms of slight tugs, slight grabs, jersey grabs, slight body touches, really just anything in general. They're not really calling blatant calls. I would say both teams played a pretty clean game when it comes to absolute blatant bad coverage, like blatantly holding somebody, blatantly tossing somebody aside, shoving somebody. At least in the passing game concept for both teams, both teams did a great job. But then you have your 3rd and goal with pretty much the game on the line, and I want to bring up these 2 screenshots right here for you, just to get your opinion on them. So you have our first one right here. Cooper Cup is stuck by no other than the person I've been raving about, Logan Wilson. And the ball is circled about right past
Mhm.
the first Bengals defensive lineman right there. And you have Logan Wilson approaching Cooper Cup. Now, the first question I have is why the hell is Logan Wilson sticking Cooper Cup? That's my first question. But I'm gonna get past it because he's played a very good game to this point.
Right.
So at this point, what are your opinions on this? Is this a hold at this point from when we're looking at it? Is this a hold? Like, from just this screenshot alone, is this a hold that you would call as an umpire in this game?
Two answers. When you're using contextual evidence to talk about how the game was going up until that point, no, I'm not calling no. I'm not throwing my flag in that moment because I haven't thrown my flag all freaking game. But by the book, 2 hands are on the receiver while the ball is in the air. That makes it a defensive hold. So I see both sides. I understand Rams fans are saying by rule of the law, by letter of the law, it's a foul. I understand Bengals fans saying you weren't calling that all game, so don't call it now. I get it. But we see clear as day that Logan Wilson does have 2 hands on Cooper Cup as he is definitely 5 yards past the line of scrimmage. So yes, that is a defensive hold.
I 100% agree with you on every contextually. Like you said, you can't really call this in the game because because you haven't really called anything like it in the game to begin with. So
Right.
it's just hard for me if I was a Bengals fan waking up the next day like, damn, why the hell was this called when a lot of other things couldn't have been called? Because you could argue, like we talked about before, the T Higgins thing. You could
Mhm.
argue if that was a penalty for the Rams, or you could argue if Ramsey earlier in the game tugged his jersey a little bit and held him back. What do you think about the Rams' chances of running this back? Um, I know there's been a lot of talk of Aaron Donald retiring. I was a fan of that news because it dropped right before the game. And me, as a Cardinal fan, I'm saying I don't want the Rams to win. But if you told me that Aaron Donald's retiring because they won,
Go
fuck
Rams.
it. Let them have the championship. I do not care, not one bit. Let them have the championship because I do not want to see that man torturing my quarterback for another 10 years or never another even 3 years or so. So, um, Rams team, what do you of running it back. And also, we know the guys like Vaughn,
Mm.
easy gold jacket guys that you can expect, I should say. What do you think about chances of a person like Cooper Cup, Matthew Stafford, Hall of Fame chances, and even a Jalen Ramsey to this point? Because there's only 13 cornerbacks in the Hall of Fame. And if you look at these guys, Jalen Ramsey, to me, isn't on their level. He can be the best cornerback in the game,
Mm.
but some of these guys, he's not really on their level when it comes to coverage, when it comes to stickiness, when it comes down to locking the field. So
Mm.
those three guys in general, what do you think about their Hall of Fame, along with the Rams' chance of running it back this next season?
Well, there's like we both know there's so much parity in NFL things. You can't. There's things that you just can't account for. So I don't want to say that they have a strong chance of running it back. I wouldn't put money on it right now, but I definitely think it's over 40%. I think they have about a 40 to 45% chance of at least making it out of the NFC. I know we had a conversation off mic. I don't really see who's in their way this year. Aaron Rodgers, his future is in question in Green Bay. Tampa Bay, they need to find a quarterback. So I think next man up to challenge the Rams are you guys, the 49ers, maybe the Cowboys, and definitely the Packers if Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams both come back. But other than that, I don't really see a team in the NFC beating them. But obviously, football, it's different every year, so who knows. But I definitely like their chances of at least going back to a Super Bowl. Um, and as far as gold jacket possibilities, I'm if the Rams would have lost, Jalen Ramsey would have had the longest offseason in NFL history because he played probably the worst game I've ever seen him play. And I don't know, maybe it was Super Bowl nerves. Maybe, this is the biggest stage I've ever been on in my life. But Jalen Ramsey doesn't really give to me as a guy that will get nervous in games like that. He gives off, you know what I'm saying? He has just moxie oozing out of him, confidence and swag oozing out of him. So that was a little disappointing to see him get cooked like that, especially from the beginning of the damn game. If you want to keep it real, that Jamar Chase long pass was in the first quarter. I was like, what the hell? But I saw a Shannon Sharp tweet, never put this guy's name in a conversation with Prime again. And you know what I'm saying? I agree. Thought that was a little harsh to say that while the guy's playing in the Super Bowl, but I definitely agree. Um, but it's just so tough for corners nowadays, as we know. You really can't hit, you can't hold, you can't do the things corners back in the day once did that made them so successful. So his gold jacket is still up in the air. But as we know, Von Miller, he was certified before he even came to LA. AD certified. Cooper Cup. It's crazy because Bucky Brooks just came out with his top 5 receiver list. Cooper Cup is not on it. He's not on it. That's crazy. So it's crazy how this guy statistically has had the greatest season ever for a receiver, but still gets snubbed on current receiver lists. I just don't get it. I don't understand it. I just don't get it. But his gold jacket still up in the air. But the gold jacket that has had, that has been the talk since they won it is Matthew Stafford's gold jacket. You and I differ on that. I think he earned it. You know what I'm saying? After the game, I was a little skeptical, but I think he's earned it. If you look at his career, if you just look at his time in Detroit versus his time in LA, it's clear that he was always a stud. It's clear that he was always a game changer. He was always a game breaker. Now, as we know, football is the ultimate team game. So I need guys if we're ever going to go anywhere. But he did his part in Detroit, and he proved that it was not his fault in Detroit based off his 1 year in LA. Now, if he was to retire today, I think the chances of him getting left out of the Hall of Fame are greater than his chances of making the Hall of Fame if he were to retire today. But he's not gonna retire today. And according to Sean McVay's fiance via Instagram, Sean isn't going anywhere. So if those two can stay together, if you can bring AD back, if you can give AD some more money on his deal, because apparently that's what he really wants is a new contract. He's not going to retire. So you give him some new money, you keep McVay, you keep Stafford, you run this thing back. And if they can pull a Rodgers and LaFleur and make 3 or 4 straight NFC championship games, I don't see how in 4 or 5 years you can look at Stafford's timeline, his resume, and say, this guy has to be left out of the Hall of Fame. I know Richard Sherman had a lot to say. Don't know why he was the one who decided to be the gatekeeper of the Hall of Fame. But I think if Stafford keeps going, yes, his gold jacket is earned. I think it's already earned, but he's nowhere near done. So I think he gets his. Cooper Cup, Jalen Ramsey got to keep going, but Matthew Stafford, I think his is definitely earned. I think he's stamped into the Hall of Fame.
Um, so I'm gonna disagree with you on that, just in the house aspect of it. I just you got drafted in 2009,
Mm-hmm. First
you
overall pick.
first overall pick. You can argue that a lot of his yards came in games that meant absolutely nothing to anything.
Mm-hmm.
In moments of games that meant nothing to absolutely anything because you're getting beat by the Bears, you're getting beat by the Packers, you're getting beat by the higher echelon elite NFL, NFC North teams, as well as NFC teams in general in your career. Your best seasons ever came with generational wide receivers in an aspect, and what we can think of an aspect of. Calvin Johnson is a clear cut generational wide receiver. Cooper Cup to be determined. I don't think he's generational, of course, but I do think he's very skilled and very elite at his position. So your best overall seasons came when you had them and you had two generational, maybe even three generational players on the defensive side of the ball. Now, Tampa Bay's defense doesn't have anybody, I should say. Even Kansas City's defense doesn't have anybody generational, but they have the quarterbacks that move needles in multiple moments and multiple games. I don't think, to me, Matthew Stafford moved the needle enough in his career to the point where we're looking at this guy as a Hall of Famer, because if he gets into the Hall of Fame, then the standards are just clearly not enough anymore, especially when it comes based around different positions. To me, to me, it has always meant it hasn't always meant winning, but let's take it in this aspect. We never saw a person like Dan Marino, but retiring, he was easily a Hall of Famer, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Easily a Hall of Famer. Even though he never won any rings, he never had too much accolades, or not too much, not too many, too much postseason success, I should
Mm-hmm.
say.
Still a bad boy. We all knew.
His
Right.
numbers speak for themselves. His numbers
Mm-hmm.
clearly speak for themselves in an era when it was not aired out like that. It
Mm-hmm.
was an era when a person like that changed the game. One Pro Bowl, less than 50, I mean, almost passing. It's not enough. That's just not
Mm-hmm.
enough. And where I can see your point to where if they do this again, or they do this for 3 or 4 years or so, then you can start talking. But the fact that we are allowed to have conversations about this man being in the Hall of Fame his after this season, where let's talk about him being before the Week 14 game, he had never beat a team that had a certain amount of wins that was over 500 at a certain point in the season.
Right.
You're in year 13.
Mm-hmm.
I don't agree with that. I don't agree that you haven't beaten anybody good up until this point of the year. So to me personally, I can't really accept that. I can't really accept the fact that we're talking about him in a Hall of Fame aspect when he's not a Hall of Famer by the book, honestly. And what we're talking about, the people that get into the Hall of Fame, Eli Manning is a questionable player getting into the Hall of Fame, but Eli Manning has multiple playoff moments. So it's hard for me to say that he shouldn't be there because of his playoff moments, and of course his last name helps him a lot.
A
But
damn lot.
a damn lot. But he got the same amount of rings as his brother do, and
Mm-hmm.
so you can't really. It's not really much to say about anything when it comes to that. And Matthew Stafford's 1 year doing this just isn't enough for me to move the needle. But do I think they can run it back? Possibly. The NFC is
Mm-hmm.
so weak coming up next year, especially if Aaron Rodgers leaves. It's
Mm-hmm.
so weak coming up. Like you said, really the only competition that they may see is the Cowboys, Packers if they run it back.
You
The
guys,
Niners,
friend.
and then us. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and us is a huge question mark. So at the same time, it's like it's hard to see who can stop them. But with the way that the NFC has worked the last couple of years, it's just always a different name and different person coming out.
Right.
So
So
we'll have to wait and yeah. So we'll have to wait and see who can really get there to possibly dethrone these guys. But like you said, in the aspect of it, about 45%, I'd give them a chance to get right there because it's really only about a 4 or 5 team race now in the NFC. So somebody could surprise us, but we'll see. Have to see how it looks out. So Super Bowl was about the Rams and the Bengals, but for some odd reason, Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals were in the news the day going up to the day of the Super Bowl. Um, So a couple weeks ago, Kyler Murray scrubbed his Instagram account of all Arizona Cardinals content, right? So he removed himself wearing any jerseys, removed his weights. He also ended up removing anything with his family or with personal belongings, I should say, on there. So it left a lot of people in question. We had a Outbranch Cardinals media outlet spot this and put it up as a report saying Kyler Murray has now scrubbed his Instagram of all Arizona Cardinals content. What could it mean? What could it mean? So when it first happened, what did you think about Kyler? I thought it was nothing, honestly. I was confused, but it was nothing because we're in that day and age now where people are refreshing their pages consistently, bringing in new content. So I assumed nothing of it. And I especially assumed nothing of it when the team made a mockery of it as well. The team also ended
Yes.
up archiving their own Instagram pictures, leaving up the day of Kyler Murray being drafted and his Pro Bowl picture that he used as well. What did you think about the Kyler Murray scrub? And did you think anything of it when it happened?
Um, Here's why I thought something of it, and I don't think it's going to end up being anything more than a 3 week headline. I think this will all be under the rug by time training camp starts, even probably by the draft. But it means something to me because, as you know, as you've told me, Kyler Murray is known for having leadership issues. He's not, he's not the commander of troops that you may want your QB1 to be, or at least in the public eye, he's not that. I know some guys on your team spoke out in favor of him last week saying, yo, great guy. This is just a bullshit headline. Just keep it moving. You guys must be a slow news week. But him scrubbing his IG means something to me because he knows what that means. He knows the attention that's going to bring. So for him to do that and not really speak coming off of you guys' loss versus the Rams, I could definitely see a Cardinals fan being like, all right, what's really going on? Like you haven't spoken since we've gotten our asses whipped by the Rams, and then you taking us off the gram. Like if this is a relationship, I'm worried you're about to break up with me, bro. Like what's going on? But obviously this is your topic. I went like this because I want you to have an ISO, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I'm as a person that's best friends with a Cardinals fan, I was a little alarmed for you. And we hear the baseball rumors every day. Maybe, but I still don't think so. But it definitely gives you cause to pause. But I'm excited to hear what you think about this.
Uh, to me, the baseball shit is a troll. It's always going to be a troll. Because I don't really think he'll ever go to baseball because of how you have to start baseball, which is a minor league thing, into a major league thing. It's always just going to be an off season. Maybe I might dabble my feet in it type shit, but I
Right.
don't ever think it'll be to the point where, you know what, I just fucking hate football. I'm going to go to baseball. I don't think that'll ever happen. But to the point, like you were saying, I was slightly alarmed just because of the points that you were making. You didn't say anything to me. You haven't spoken anything up. And at the same point, the guy is very introverted. He's a very quietly spoken guy. Quietly spoken. There's moments that we'll get into this next report. Um, he's a quietly spoken guy, so I'm not saying too much of it to the point where you're ducking the media or you're I didn't mind the scrub. I wish you would have just told us like, bro, just relax, bro. It's all good. We good. I'm just changing it up. But you didn't say anything. So it leaves nothing but speculation out there. So that was like a week or so before the Super Bowl. Then you
Mhm.
had Chris Mortensen, who is a very, 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 very
Hall
respected
of Fame reporter.
ESPN Hall of Fame reporter with over 3 million followers on Twitter. And nothing that he would put out would be to the point where it's like, oh, this is fake or I'm just getting a bad source. So clearly, this is a respected source in the Arizona Cardinals front office management, whatever it is, his per sources, whatever it is. So I bring it up right here. And I'm glad that we're both on the screen for this because it was just very confusing to me. So he reports vibe between the Arizona Cardinals and Kyler Murray is indeed alarming. To me, as soon as that was there, I said, who's not trying to pay him? That's the first thing I thought was, who's not trying to pay him? He said he goes on to say Murray is described as self-centered, immature, and finger pointer per sources. Murray is frustrated with franchise and was embarrassed by playoff loss to Rams and thinks he's being framed as the scapegoat. So let's get into this first one because I don't know who's fly from the Hot Box Talk podcast, Kylie. If you, I don't know who's telling you you're a scapegoat because it wasn't just you. You played badly, and I'm gonna be the first one to say that you played badly. But I don't know who's telling you that you're the scapegoat. I saw wide receivers not fight for balls that you threw to them. I saw wide receivers drop passes that you did not throw, that you did not do to them. I saw your offensive line, who you instilled trust in this offseason, who only gave up 39 sacks, but 31 of those 39 sacks came after the bye week. So they're the people that let you down, as well as your defense. I showed you the screenshot. Odell's second touchdown, I think, to make it 27-0. There were 3 guys wide open. 3. I don't know who's telling you that you're the scapegoat, bro, but please don't think that. Think that I played badly and I want to get better on myself. To this second point, Murray is described as self-centered, immature, and finger pointer per sources. I mean, shit. I go into work. People don't do what I ask them to do. I finger point to them as well. Why? Oh, that's what we do. It's nothing against anything that when your teammates are playing so badly that you have to be like, yo, wake up. Of course you're going to be seen as a finger pointer because you need their help. Murray's described as immature. I mean, damn, he's 24 years old. Who wouldn't be immature? This is a guy whose high school was 63-0 or something like that.
Great again, point. I was about to say that.
And again, high school means nothing towards NFL points, so I'm not trying to bring that up. I'm bringing it up in the aspect of there are stages of learning how to deal with bad things happening to you. And if you never were able to experience that because you transfer from one bad high school to the best high school and you have that, you go to one college, to another college, to the next college where you finally found your fit. NFL is not like that. You can't switch from place to place to place till you find the best fit. It's just what you have, especially as a first round pick and a player on a team that is so crucial you're so crucial to. It's going to be hard to just go anywhere or leave the place. It's hard for him to learn how to grow with outside of adversity if you've never experienced it. And this is one of the first real times that he's experienced adversity, especially in a setting like a playoff game when it's do or die. He went to the college football playoff as a starter, I should say. He won 3 high school championships in a row. So he never lost a playoff game in high school as well. So it's just
he's one of the greatest high school players ever to go into the NFL. Like,
so it's just really like, of course he's immature. The self-centered point, stop it. He's not self-centered. Excuse my language. He's not self-centered, bro. Stop. You can't be serious saying this thing about him being self-centered. Stop it, bro. He does everything for his teammates to put him in positions. Let's go to and the point I want to make off of that is let's go to week 18 against the Seattle Seahawks, where if the Cardinals win the game, they have a chance to get to the playoffs. AJ Green needs about 7 or 8 catches or so and about 70-ish yards to receive a bonus. Kyler Murray's throwing that man the ball the entire game when other people are open. That sure does like a self-centered person to me. That looks like a person that doesn't care about anything.
Right.
Stop it, bro. I don't want to hear this talk about him being self-centered when it comes time to pay him, because we'll get into my point to why I'm saying all this. But he then says, where is it headed? Despite their acrimony, the Cardinals expect things to calm down, and Murray is their QB. Select veterans hope to reach Murray on how he handles adversity better. Coach Cliff Kingsbury also is self-scouting where he can provide better alternatives for QB, and I'm guessing that meant providing better alternatives for him as a leader in QB, as a QB.
Right.
The Cardinals moved to Arizona in 1988. I was not born yet, but that was about 11 years before my birth. They moved to Arizona in 1988. I'm 22. This is about 33 years. They have 33 different starting quarterbacks since moving to Arizona in 1988. 33. None of those guys, two of those guys made one Pro Bowl in certain seasons with the Arizona Cardinals, that being Kurt Warner in 2008 and Carson Palmer in 2015. No Arizona Cardinal quarterbacks have had more than two Pro Bowls. Only Kyler Murray has. Kyler Murray's numbers per PFF, who is a place where we kind of question what they talk about. We'll take this off the screen. We kind of question what they talk about when it comes to PFF, but they have some type of math and data to what they talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Kyler Murray's numbers, according to PFF, including his worst game ever, which was probably that playoff game, in his career, let alone his football life, probably his worst game ever. Passing grade, 87.5. That ranks fifth in the NFL. Yards per attempt, 7.6. That ranks sixth in the NFL. Completion, 0.3. That ranks third in the NFL. Big time throw rate, which means throws of 20 yards or down the field or more. 7.8%, number one. Turnover worthy play rate, 2.2%, number four in the NFL. So as badly as he played, you telling me that multiple passing stats, which includes stats passing in the pocket, I didn't see anything outside the pocket or on the scramble run that we think of Kyler Murray. I see real quarterback statistics right here.
He can play.
Top six in all of them. Top six in all of them. Kyler Murray reached 60 this season, reached 60 plus passing touchdowns and 20 plus rushing touchdowns faster than any player in NFL history. Since entering the league, trails only Josh Allen for most games with a passing and rushing touchdown. Only Josh Allen. And we see how great his improvement is. And you only trail Josh Allen for passing and rushing touchdowns. And he also is the second player in NFL history to reach 10,000 career passing yards and 1,500 career rushing yards in his first 3 seasons. Screams dual threat. Screams dual threat. Screams great passer. Screams great runner. Screams great player. And why are we having this discussion? Because I believe Steve Keim had people leak this about Kyler Murray because he has an inability to pay players unless they do the most outlandish shit. The most outlandish shit. The only person he has one first-round pick extended past a rookie deal, and that was DJ Humphries, a player who barely played his rookie season and was only really signed because of they want to draft no O-line because they can't draft O-line.
Mm-hmm.
This to me, this is all on Steve Keim and Michael Bidwell being scared to pay the guy who just had the worst performance ever. And all he wants is security and comfort. You didn't really ever help him in the draft because you never gave, other than getting DeAndre Hopkins in a trade, you never gave him a guy who really fits the mold of how we've seen him play greatly.
Right.
At Oklahoma, multiple big guys to throw the ball to. AJ Green is a big guy. AJ Green is 35 years old. He's not moving the needle against anybody anymore. You didn't go out. You didn't get CeeDee Lamb. You didn't get a Tristan Wirfs. You drafted 2 linebackers for them to not play in their respective rookie seasons. I can see to the point where Kyler Murray is disappointed in what we're doing for him and how we're aiding by him. But you have to look at it to the perspective of, I'm just annoyed that we had a really bad game and I feel as though nobody's trying to help me or nobody's trying to say anything about me or not trying to defend me. Everybody's really seemed to be pointing fingers and saying how badly Kyler Murray played, and nobody's talking about Cliff being ineffective, looking like a deer in headlights the entire game, having everything that he's doing figured out. Everything. I think this is more of an indictment on the organization. Stephen A. made a great point, like he said. This is way more about the organization than the player Kyler Murray itself. Here at the Hot Box Talk podcast, at least on my side, it is hashtag stand with K1. Pay this man, bro. I'm not going through another drought of bad quarterback player hoping that we sign a vet to help us, bro. You got to understand when you have things, you need to keep them. That's just how it goes. You have a Buda Baker, you kept him, right? You have a Patrick Peterson, you kept him. You have a Kyler Murray, you keep him. It's just how it goes, bro. You do not let this man walk away because he's so upset because you're not defending him. Give him people to help him out with. and it starts this drafting offensive talent that includes linemen and skill position players, and then free agency, shoring up, cutting people that you need to cut, and then shoring up the defense because it's a lot of things going on with this that does not mean Kyler Murray, bro. And that's all I had to say on that. I think personally, this whole entire shit is made up because of the organization not wanting to pay him. Pay this man, bro. That's all I'm gonna say. Because I really don't want to go through quarterback drought yet again. When you have a quarterback who's two-time Pro Bowler in the first 3 years, that's not made up. That's not a joke, bro. He's doing something to move enough people to get him. And so at the end of the day, and meanwhile, he got that Pro Bowl nod over at Matthew Stafford, who had a great season. So it's hashtag Sandwich K1, hashtag still fire con. That's how we moving over here. What do you think about at least that report? And could you see Kyler Murray signing a long-term extension anytime soon, or is he possibly taking a route of sitting out like a Deshaun Watson? Not because he has to, but because he may want to, and moving on.
That's tough. Like you said, naming all of those, listing all those stats, Kyler's a stud. I think what's in question aren't his tangible abilities. I think it's his intangibles, the things that make a quarterback, saying, the leader of a locker room. I think that's what's in question. That's why I hit you off camera and told you that your quarterback is the football Ben Simmons, because it's kind of, I don't want to, if looking at it from a pessimistic view, they lost and he doesn't really want to be held accountable. And that's really what, that's a parallel between what happened with Ben Simmons. He felt scapegoated. Ben felt scapegoated after the loss to the Hawks, and he wanted nothing to do with the Sixers. But in football, it's a little harder to just walk away from your franchise than it is in the NBA. So all in all, I think you guys will pay him. I think you guys have no choice but to pay him. I think contract negotiations have already started. He'll be eligible for his 5th-year extension next year at the beginning of this new league year, which is begins March 16th, I believe. So I think the bag's coming for Kyler Murray. I just think he has to stay down and wait for it. And if you guys, similar to what the Ravens are going through, if you guys try to shortchange this stud quarterback, he will leave. So I think you guys have to show him that he's a priority, and you do that by giving him proper compensation. But I think it'll happen. I don't think he'll pull a Deshaun Watson. I think Deshaun Watson is an anomaly as far as a quarterback holding out for an entire freaking season and not being injured at all, just flat out not wanting to play for that franchise. So I don't think it's going to get that far. Like I said, I think this will all be water under the bridge by the time training camp starts. Probably by the time draft work starts for the Arizona Cardinals. But yeah, you guys will be all right.
Here's against that Ben Simmons stuff is that your coach is the person who has been wanting to recruit you since the moment that you started playing football in high school. So it looks as though, to me, at least an outside fan, that he still treats you like a recruit and he doesn't coach you, hashtag lead you. Not hashtag lead you, but / lead you. The leadership thing, it's hard to say for me because Joe Flacco's not a leader. He won a Super Bowl, right? It's like those are the certain things, and we can just go down the list of teams, at least recently, that won a Super Bowl, and their quarterback wasn't per se a leader. So maybe since that one, to be honest,
we probably just saw one with Matthew Stafford. I wouldn't call him a leader of men. Maybe borderline.
Maybe on the inside, but you're never going to see him in people's faces doing the extra things. And maybe you can even point back to a guy like Eli Manning. That's not a leader. Has 2 Super Bowl rings. Why? Tom Coughlin's a leader. Your coach is a leader. Our coach, Cliff Kingsbury, was quoted when we signed J.J. Watt, a player, an active player. Yeah, that's a guy. He quotes, start quote, yeah, that's a guy you don't want to let down, end quote. You're the head coach of a football team, sir. Why is a player a person that he shouldn't be letting you down? Right. You shouldn't be not letting him down. He should not be letting you down. And that's where everything starts with this, is that the coach isn't a leader. The coach isn't a person that you can be like, Like that last point, if I bring it back up again, this last point, Coach Cliff Kingsbury also is sounding where he can provide better alternatives for QB. How do you do that? You need to be able to teach this guy or coach him enough to the point to how to lead players, how to lead the situations, how to deal with adversity. You can't do that. And that's the
Right.
problem to begin with. He's the person that needs to really be looking at himself and really going, how can I lead my team better doing? A lot of the aspect of the team, the reason we were so successful wasn't because of Cliff Kingsbury. It was because of the players playing, the players executing, and the defense playing out of their mind, to be honest, to start the season. If the coach can't lead and the GM can't provide leadership, what are they doing there? What are they doing there? That's the biggest thing to me with this whole entire thing is that we have a coach and GM who aren't leaders. They push that back on the quarterback who's not the most outspoken leader, but interiorly,
At least not yet.
at least not yet, but interiorly, you hear nothing but great things about Kyler Murray. And I
Yeah.
so that's why I see a teammate saying this? That Kyler Murray about him as a teammate is that he doesn't follow them on social media. Like that's it. We haven't heard anything past the point of, oh, he yells at his guys in the locker room. Oh, he does this in the locker room to people and it just ticks him off. Like there was a report came out from a radio station that one guy tweeted out saying it's known for Kyler Murray to sit by himself at his locker at halftime, listen to music or put his headphones on and call his girlfriend. Bro, I said what? Bro, we're going over the game plan on how to execute in half two. We're not sitting in a fucking thing calling our girlfriends. Any athlete, especially a football athlete, can tell you nobody's calling their girlfriend or significant other at halftime. That's just the dumbest shit ever. And the fact that they wanted to put that up to demoralize his character more is where this fan base is at, bro. That's where this fan base is at to a point where it's shooting down the best thing that we've ever honestly come to the point that we've had outside of Larry Fitzgerald, and y'all want to get rid of him because he's too short and because he had one bad playoff game in a place where we hadn't been in 6 years.
Right.
It's beyond me how dumb this fan base is. And it's like, yes, the Rams are there, but the Rams have multiple players that are older than us and multiple players in situations that have seen more than us. So we shouldn't shoot. And we lost to the Super Bowl champions in the playoffs. Why does that not get brought up? We lost to the Super Bowl champions in the playoffs.
Right.
If we had the 49ers route, which could have been like that, we could have maybe beaten the Cowboys in that stadium because Kyler is undefeated there. We could have maybe gotten past the Packers if they had that bad of a game and the special teams had blunders like that again. So ultimately, you're looking at this whole entire offseason being a different outlook if we are in a different situation of how we got there. You lost to the Super Bowl champions. End the season there. Learn how to get to that point. Shouldn't be anything about questioning your quarterback or questioning the things that are going on. We lost DeAndre Hopkins week 14. We lost J.J. Watt week 8. Didn't get him back to the end of to the last game of the season. These are important pieces. The fact that those pieces are so important to us that we lose and we falter down the stretch is an indictment on the coaching staff and the organization for not drafting depth enough. So they're the people that need to be looking in themselves to see how they can get better, see how to improve this team. Hashtag stand with Kyle. Moving on.
Moving on to my team, Los Angeles Lakers. Star big man Anthony Davis suffered a mid-foot sprain Wednesday night against the Utah Jazz. He's out indefinitely. He will be reevaluated in 4 weeks. I'm devastated. People are on the talk of the media is, should we call it a season? That's what I'll ask you. Do you think there's any chance that LeBron can just carry us into the playoffs, let alone the play-in? Because right now we're 10th in the West, so we would have to play 2 play-in games. Then we would play either Golden State or the Phoenix Suns. So I'll just get right to it. Do you think there's any chance that LeBron carries us to the playoffs and that we make even a minute playoff run?
Well, we've seen Braun do this before. I mean, for you guys, when it comes down to it, it was a good win, good competitive win. You had Russ coming up in the clutch. But do I think this hurts you more? Yes. You don't really have any depth. You're still lacking consistent Russ. You have LeBron battling multiple injuries again, and it's not many players that can move the needle enough for the rest of the games that you have, and for 48 minutes in these games. I think y'all stay in the play-in race. I think that's probably pretty tied up right now between 10. So a couple of people that could shoot up, maybe the Spurs or something like that. They'd make a run, but I think you'll get into the play-in. You'll possibly win that first game if you're the 9-10. But do I see y'all doing anything past this? Y'all have LeBron James. I'm never gonna count him out. You know how I feel about LeBron. I'm not gonna count him out, but I think y'all can stay in it. But it's gonna be definitely tough. AD's foot looked like it came off his leg, so like who knows how long he really will be out. That looked like about maybe a 2-month injury. Sideline yet again. So I don't know. I mean, I like LeBron. I think he can keep the team up, but it depends on his health. He's not really 30. He's not 25 anymore. He's not even 30, and he's not even 35 anymore. So it's really getting to a point where like he's really at an age where it's hard to carry these people, but he will try his best, and I know he will. So what do you think, though?
I mean, like you said, with LeBron, we'll always have a puncher's chance. So we'll see where he takes us. But like you said, he's 37 years old, for crying out loud. He can't carry a team to at least a deep playoff run anymore. He needs guys that are capable of, being able to ride passenger with them, as I always like to say. But the bigger question that I wanted to ask you is, as we know, this is not the first time that AD has had to miss significant time with an injury. And Stephen A. Smith brought it up a few days ago that we should explore trade options for Anthony Davis because, as we all know, the best ability is availability. So I want to know from a more and a guy like you, a more composed guy when it comes to trading franchise guys. You're always on the side. You and I are pretty much always on the side of hold on to your talent unless it's proven that your talent cannot perform the way that we expect them to. So I ask you, should we look at trading AD?
Y'all gave up future great players for Anthony Davis, and now we're less than 3 years removed from that point, and we're talking about getting rid of him for future players / picks. Obviously, no. LeBron James is going to be gone soon. He's played well. He's played well without LeBron, and he's proven to be way more consistent, at least health wise, right now. I really don't know what it is when it comes to him health. It's really just a factor of bad luck. It just seems like just continuous bad luck that keeps hitting him.
Right.
But no, I mean, AD's still 27, right?
28,
28. Just hitting in the prime of his career. I don't think you trade him, but it is things that you do. Like, you just have to be okay with. It's hard for me to say you have to be okay with tanking because you have a LeBron, so you can't really ever tank. I don't know. It's to the point where you got to entertain maybe trading LeBron James as a player that you might have to entertain trading because he's going to be 39, and you guys have no assets and or capital. So that's a person that you need to get rid of in order to obtain that, have a chance to redo the Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball, Kyle Kuzma experiment, because we see what Brandon Ingram is. We see what Lonzo Ball is. We slightly saw what Kuzma was for y'all in the bubble, leading y'all to a championship. But I still think his game has somewhat of a chance to grow. Yeah, I wouldn't trade AD. I think that you can build a team around AD, but it needs to be AD's team. And if that results in you guys going out in the first round, like a Pelicans team, for maybe a year or so until your young talent gets evolved enough, then okay. But we know Genie Bus, Lakers organization, they're win now always. They're never stay patient, stay calm. So it's hard to say. I mean,
here's my thing. And like you said, I think it's the worst kept secret in the NBA that LeBron is looking at other teams. His contract is up at the end of next year. It's the worst kept secret that this guy is looking at other teams. The rumors that he wants to go back to Cleveland are as loud as the rumors were that he wanted to come to the Lakers in 2018. So we've done this in the past with Shaquille O'Neal, where we have an aging superstar. We have an aging superstar on our team along with a young guy who seems to be our future. So we're not opposed to trading the elder statesman in the event of uplifting our younger talent. But in this case, in this case, I would not be surprised if Jeannie and Rob and Magic Johnson here and there, he doesn't work for us, but we still call him and he still answers the phone to give us advice. I would not be opposed. I would not be surprised if we move from both of them. And I say that because like I just said, LeBron is already he's great. And I think just being in LA may keep him with us, just lifestyle wise. Like, we didn't win that game. We didn't even have a chance of winning that game on Wednesday until Aaron Donald walked into the building. We were on our way to getting crushed until he walked in, and I guess that amped up LeBron. And then out of nowhere, he went on this crazy run and he led us to the win. But if we don't put quality talent around him, he has shown that he will leave if the team is not where it's supposed to be. He wanted us to make a move at the deadline. We told him no because you made us construct this roster over the summer. We have no assets to move from the pieces that we have. So you contributed to making this bed, you and AD. We have to lay in it because we have no proper assets or capital, like you just said, to fix this roster immediately and to bring in a guy that could change our franchise this season. And we probably won't have that guy until who knows. So I think you have to take calls on LeBron James. I think you have to take calls on Anthony Davis. I know it sounds crazy because I was just clamoring for Anthony Davis to come 2-3 years ago. And we see that he just cannot stay healthy. And like you said, like we all know, it's not his injuries are not a product of him being out of shape or unhealthy. They're all freak accidents. They have all been, and that's like the mind fucking part because they're all freak accidents. Like, who would have thought that Jared Vanderbilt from the Minnesota Timberwolves would just back up into his knee like that and make the guy miss 17 games in December? Who would have thought that? Who would have thought that going up for a clean rebound, would make the guy's ankle look like it snapped in half last Wednesday? These are not injuries that being in the weight room or being with a proper trainer could prevent. So I don't know. Rob Pelinka, he has a tough decision to make on the future of the franchise. Jeannie Buss has an even tougher decision to make on the future of the franchise because she's the one cutting the check. She's the one cutting the checks. And I don't know, despite how great he's playing, we'll get into all-star predictions later. I think the guy might win MVP on Sunday in the game. I don't know if you would be inclined to pay LeBron James a max at what will be 39 years old, 38 years old when he's off our books again. I don't know if we want to give a guy who's 39 more than 39 million per year. I just don't know. I just don't know if we're going to do that. So we have this season. Like I said, he's out for 4 weeks. I looked at my calendar. 4 weeks will be the week of the Wizards game. As you know, I have tickets to that game. So hopefully, prayers to God, he'll be healthy by that game, March 19th in DC. Probably won't be, of course, but hopefully he is. But I don't know, man. I don't know. I think this season is a wash. I think we should just clean our hands with this season and get ready for next year. But damn, who would have thought? Who the hell would have thought that on draft night when we made the trade for Russell Westbrook and we, pretty much flipped the entire roster, that we would be debating on whether or not we should call it a season before March 1st, before the All-Star break? Who would have thought that that would be a topic of discussion? Not me, and I'm sure not the rest of Laker Nation. So that's all I got. AD, get well soon. LeBron, keep playing. Westbrook, work out with Phil Handy. The reports is that Westbrook is refusing to work out with Phil Handy on basic skill practices. How are you?
Well, we know what that is. That's just a pride thing.
That's a pride
That's a
thing.
pride thing. Taking you're better than what you are as a
Exactly.
player right now. So if you feel like you don't need to refine any of your skills or anything like that, you don't. You say you respectfully decline. So
We heard the man say a few weeks ago that he feels like he'll always deserve to be a part of a closing lineup just based on who he is. What the fuck is that? I can't have that. I can't have that on my team. You're my point guard. You are the leader of my offense. You are the guy that we brought in. In the event that AD or LeBron gets injured, you are supposed to be that guy, Russell Westbrook. And you have not been playing the way Laker Nation needs you to play. And you don't want to work out with our player development coach, who everybody on the team seems to love, players around the league seems to love. You don't want to work out with Phil Handy? Come on, dog. Come on, dog. And then the reports are, I know I don't want to Lakers ISO this topic, but the reports are that we're going to keep this same roster for next year. So help is not on the way. I know Shannon Sharp went viral for that clip. Tyreek Hill did the rendition of it. Help is not on the way. I don't know where we go. We have no draft picks. We gave them all to the Pelicans. You have our pick for this year, the Memphis Grizzlies. So I don't know where we go from here. I don't know. But I just hope that maybe we can recruit a star like we always have done. But we have no money to sign a star because 3 guys take up 94.7% of our cap space. So we are fucked. We are fucked. I just hope that AD comes back and plays like AD. I hope Russ will swallow his pride and work out with Phil Handy. And I hope LeBron just stays healthy because for him, that's all it is. Just staying healthy, and we know what he'll give us. So, damn, man, we are fucked.
Post All-Star predictions. We can start in the West with your Lakers that we just followed up on. So you guys right now are sitting in ninth at 27-31. 4 games under 500. Suns are at 1, Warriors 2, Grizzlies 3, Jazz are at 4, Mavericks 5, Nuggets 6. Before we get into that play-in, do you see any shakeup possibly happening into that second and that first grouping of playoff locks for the West? I don't really see anybody dethroning the Suns at 1. The Grizzlies are very close on the heels now of the Warriors, a game and a half back. Any shakeup that you see possibly happening in the West, or is this pretty locked in stone, the top 6 and the standings of where they're going to be at?
I think it's pretty much a lock. I know you want me to say that I think you guys can catch the Warriors, but I don't think you guys will because they have Draymond coming back. They had a little slump because he was out. Their defense definitely looked like they need Draymond in their offense. You know what I'm saying? So I think once he comes back, I think his timetable is in about 2 or 3 weeks. I think he'll be back, but I think the West standings will probably stay the same.
I'm thinking that we can have a chance to catch them as well. We have our own defensive guy coming back as well in Dylan Brooks. So only being a game and a half back, and we have a head-to-head versus them. I would like to get up to 2 personally because I would be way more comfortable facing one of those playing teams than playing in the Nuggets, who are at 6 and likely will stay at 6. But you're going to have to beat these teams in a Grizzlies fan aspect. You're going to have to beat these teams at some point anyways if you want to get there. So playing them to start, it wouldn't be too badly. We actually ended up, I think we're 3-0 on the Nuggets right now, actually, when I think about it. So good base of standing at least. So let's move into the playing teams. You have Timberwolves at 7, Clippers at 8, Lakers at 9, Trailblazers at 10. Pelicans and the Spurs are both at 23 and 36. 2 games back of the Trailblazers team, who are playing with a bunch of nobodies right now. Ended up Grizzlies with Anthony Simons, Nurkic, and fucking Josh Hart the other day. But any shakeup in these 7 through 10, I think Timberwolves are about slotted where they at. Clippers can make a run if they possibly get Boardman. But I think this 7 through 10 is pretty set up unless, like I said, somebody like the Pelicans start catching the groove, possibly with CJ there, or if the Spurs coming. But I think it's pretty set in stone to 7 and 10. What do you think?
I think the Minnesota Timberwolves stay at 7. I think the Clippers may jump the Timberwolves just because Ty Lue is coaching his ass off right now, and he has those guys playing way over their heads. They're amazing. They Laker Nation, man, I just don't know, man, because Lakers were clamoring for a wing. We were clamoring for wings, and we were told that we had no assets to give. But like we mentioned a few episodes ago, we saw the Clippers come up on Robert Covington and Norman Powell for absolutely nothing. So they're playing great ball. They just have 2 key additions that are going to contribute to them when it's time to. So I like the Clippers to leapfrog the Pelicans and switch that 7 and 8. Us and the Blazers, man, the way we playing, well, the Blazers beat us a few weeks ago without Dame. So I mean, of course, he hasn't played all season, but they beat us. So I mean, I don't know. I would love to get on here and be optimistic and say we'll make that run, we'll make that second half run, and we'll make that push to out of the play-in tournament, a top 6 seed. But that's not gonna happen. As long as Frank Vogel is playing Westbrook and Avery Bradley as my starting backcourt, that's not gonna fucking happen. Like that's not gonna happen. As long as Russell Westbrook keeps hitting the side of the backboard on those bank shots, that's not. We're not gonna leapfrog any of those teams. So.
Mhm.
I don't know, man. The Trailblazers are a fun team to watch. Like I know the joke on the timeline is they can't even tank correctly because they have a bunch of guys who you would think would tank, but they're playing crazy ball. Chauncey Billups, he's shout out Big Shot Billups because his coaching ability was in question first half of the season, but as of late he's been a
Got
great
real
coach.
quiet, yeah.
You feel what
Got
I'm
real
saying?
quiet.
It's gotten real quiet for the Chauncey Billups haters. So shout out to Chauncey. Keep coaching those boys up. And if you guys deserve it, I'm not opposed to you guys leapfrogging us because, as you know, I'm a Laker fan, but I'm an honest Laker fan. If we're not playing quality ball, I wouldn't be surprised to see one of these young teams with better talent, better um, better supporting talent, and a better coaching staff leapfrog us. So keep playing. Hopefully, we can get on here next week, and Lakers will be next episode once the All-Star break is over with, and
Mhm.
hopefully we can go on a 5-6 game winning streak. You know, rip off some dubs, but that's not looking probable right now. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Lakers fell out of the play-in tournament with Anthony Davis being out, Westbrook playing the same, and LeBron's workload continuing to increase as the season goes on. So who knows, man? Who knows?
Jumping over to the Eastern Conference, way tighter than the West. You have three teams in the West actually with a better record than the one seed in the East. So as much as people say that the East is back or whatever it is, the West is trolling when it comes to this. But so you have 1 through 5, with being the Heat, Bulls, Sixers, Cavs, and Bucks, all separated by less than 3 games.
Mm,
Um, then you have the Celtics, who have been on a crazy run in their last 10, going 9-1.
mm-hmm.
They've now jumped to 6. So with that 6, do you see the Heat staying at 1, controlling home court for the rest of the playoffs, or is there another team that possibly catches up? For me personally, I think when it's all said and done, you'll have the Bucks home court advantage for this playoffs, but wouldn't be surprised to see the Bulls, DeMar DeRozan, the way he's playing, or even the 76ers when they get James in there, um, to possibly get the 1 seed. But what do you think about those 6? Are those 6 locked in for at least those top 6 spots, avoiding the play-in, or is a team like the Nets or even maybe even the Hawks possibly having a run in the second half and getting up to to those top 6?
I'm pretty much with you. I like the Bucks or the Heat to end the season with their number 1 slot. I think the Bucks will come off of this All-Star break and say, "Yo, it's about that time." I know they just lost a close one to Philly
Mm-hmm.
Thursday before the All-Star break. Joel Embiid is playing out of his mind. We'll talk
Mm-hmm.
about him when we talk MVP candidates, but um, I think the Bucks will get in that championship groove, and I think they'll end up probably being the 1 seed. I love the Heat right now. I love how deep they are. I love the fact that Tyler Hero is probably 6 man of the year candidate. I know people are giving Kevin Love a lot of love, no pun intended. But I like the Bucks or the Heat to stay at 1. I like the Nets to make a jump. I like the Nets to make a jump, Corey. I'm not gonna lie. I
So
played.
who would be your team that's falling out? Cavs, Celtics, or
hmm,
even the Bulls?
I was about to say, I think I like the Cavs to fall down to earth a little bit. I like DeMar DeRozan personally to come back down to earth, but I think the Bulls are a quality team, so I think they'll stay in the top 6, especially because they're supposed to get my boy Lonzo back very soon. So I think they'll stay afloat. But I think the Cavs will drop to maybe 7, just because I think teams got film on them now.
Mm-hmm.
I think teams are ready to play the Cavs now. Like you told me the other day, teams are ready to play the Grizzlies now because the league knows you guys have put the league on notice. So
Mm-hmm.
you got to eat your breakfast on game day against the Grizzlies because it will be a night. It will be a
Mm-hmm.
game. So I like the Nets to come back into the top 6. I played 2K the other day with the Nets injury-free rosters. Ben Simmons, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, Patty Mills, Seth Curry off the bench. Those boys are nasty. As long as Steve Nash can just stay out of the way, they'll be right there in the end when it's all said and done. Because you got one guy in Kevin Durant who you know what he's going to give you, and according to New York City Mayor Eric Adams, he's contemplating internally on lifting the vaccine mandate to be in the Barclays Center. So if Kyrie can get the law changed for him, bro, if if Kyrie can literally get New York state law to get changed in favor of him, I don't want to hear anything about how this guy is a cancer to the locker room, because he literally, or a cancer to the team, or just a bad guy, period, because the guy is literally getting laws changed in favor of him. And then we'll see once he's a full-time player how much he'll impact the game in a positive way. So I think the Nets will make that jump. My dark horse team in the East are the Boston Celtics. Obviously, Jason Tatum is my favorite player. I like they went on a necessary 9-game win streak going into the All-Star break. They definitely needed to show me that they're capable of playing both sides of the ball. So I like them. I like them to stay in that top 6. But I like the Cavs to fall out, and I like the Nets to replace the Cavs.
So with the Cavs falling out in your mind, that would mean that you have Raptors, Cavs, Hornets, and the Hawks. Hawks at the 10th seed as your playing teams. The Hawks have too much talent for me to see them down here. They have way too much talent for me to see them as a 10th seed, especially below the Hornets, who I don't think are a good team at all. Raptors are very good, and the Cavs, if they get bounced down, are going to be very good. So it could be a time where you're looking at the Hawks maybe not even making the playoffs at this point, just because of how badly they started. What do you think about that 7 through 10 with your Cavs dropping out? The Raptors also playing good basketball right now at 8-2, the last 10. So Raptors to possibly even jump that 6. I mean, I don't know. It's really tight, those 1 through 8 in the East, and then you include a team like the Hornets and the Hawks. 1 through 10 just very tight. It's there a bunch of teams that don't really clear you. Only team that clears for me are probably the Bucks and maybe the Heat. The Sixers have good players, but I don't know if they clear because of the coaching and the things that they be having going on with them. So that 7 through 10 is a little interesting. What do you think about that 7 through 10? I like the Raptors to easily clear that if they're stuck at 7. But then I like the Raptors, and then I guess I would like if you have the Cavs bouncing out, they have the Nets there right now. If you have the Cavs bouncing down, Cavs versus Raptors would be nice 7 and 8, but then a loser of that facing a Hornets or the Hawks would be an even better game because you're fighting for your life. What do you think about those 7 through 10 and who possibly makes up those last 2 spots? I like personally, if they're still there, then I guess the Hawks or maybe the Cavs to stay there if they end up dropping down. But who do you like right there?
Yeah, I like the Cavs to make the play-in tournament and come out of the play-in tournament. I think the Cavs and Raptors will be the teams coming out of the play-in tournament. Nick Nurse, man, he's a great coach. Fred VanVleet, of course, he'll be playing in the All-Star game on Sunday night. Pascal Siakam has turned things around. He had a slow start to the season. He's been playing better ball as of late. They're going to be a scary team. I know Goran Dragic, they traded him to the Spurs. He's now in the buyout market. Genie Bus, give the man some money, please. Have him come. But I think the play-in tournament will stay the same. But it's crazy because real quick on the Charlotte Hornets, them and the Washington Wizards took teams by total surprise first 20, 25 games of the season, and they have fallen off completely. Both squads have fallen off completely. I think I saw today that the Hornets are 1-9 in their last 10. So
1-9 in their last 10, and to your Wizards point, 4-6 in their last 10. So they're struggling as well.
They're both struggling, and I know, and it'll be interesting for Michael Jordan on if or if not he's going to pay Miles Bridges, because he played amazing ball first 3-4 months of the season, but as of late, you've been playing ball, but we're not winning games. So I can't give you $100 million if we're still going to end up fighting for our lives in the last 2 months of the season. So I don't know. We all know Michael Jordan is not the type of guy to just throw money around. So Who knows? But
He
I think,
might. Oh, go ahead.
but so I think, yeah, like I said, I think it'll stay the same. I like the Cavs and Raptors to come out of the playing tournament and be those last two slots.
Mike, if you don't pay Miles Bridges, Lob City 2.0, Lob City Next Gen Grizz, because he will go crazy in this position of wing player on that point because that likely bumping Zaire back to the bench and maybe even just cutting ties with Dylan Brooks. But a player like Miles Bridges, him and Ja, I could. Oh God, I think that's craziness. But
You would have to pray for the rim if Ja Morant and Miles Bridges ended up being on the same basketball team.
I don't even want to think about that honestly. But that's gonna do it for this episode of Hot Box Talk Podcast. Anything you want to get off to the people before we head out?
Nah, real quick, who you got winning MVP of the All Star game tomorrow?
Um, is it really a question? I think 12 going crazy. I mean, we seen him sipping a casa on a plane with Azul on the plane as well. I mean, he's here to have a good time, not a long time. Uh, he'll if he's starting. I mean, if he starts and then gets starter type minutes and is on the closing lineup to end the game, I like Ja to have a crazy game. I mean, we know he can't shoot the ball that great, but when has that mattered in an All-Star game because there's really no rim protection defense. So could see some crazy highlights, crazy dunks, end up accumulating up to like 25-ish points. Could maybe drop off a couple dimes. Now, unless somebody is going crazy from three, splashing all types of games, gonna put my money on Ja, of course. But in a realistic aspect, if I had to really like lock into a player that I want to win the game, gonna go with Greek Freak again, man. I mean, he plays hard enough to do it, and if he hits a couple of threes, gets the crowd going. I mean, it's not much I can do. So realistically, Greek Freak, but hope for Ja Morant to win that All Star Kobe Bryant MVP trophy.
Mm-hmm. I think that because he knows that the second half of the season will be a wash, and he knows that this is probably his last shot to show MVP voters that, you know what I'm saying, don't forget about me when we talk best players in the league, and the guy is back home. I think LeBron James, usually he doesn't care about All-Star games. Last year in Atlanta, we saw directly he came in, shot a couple deep threes, and then sat the rest of the damn game. I don't think that's the case this time around. I think he's going to play hard tomorrow because, like I said, the second half of his season is unknown as to if we even are going to have a chance to even make any real noise. So I think he's going to play hard tomorrow. He's going to have the crowd on his side because not only is he from Cleveland back home, he has Garland and Jared Allen on his team. So that'll be like a Cleveland tampering thing. I need Adam Silver to monitor that, make sure, they aren't recruiting my boy to come back home on us. But I think I like LeBron to win it. If not him, I like Steph Curry to finally have a good All-Star game. He has a history of playing bad in the All-Star game for reasons I don't know. I like him to erupt, and I think either LeBron James or Steph Curry will win All-Star game MVP.
All right. Well, we'll catch y'all on the next episode. Likely we'll be diving into post All-Star games things, the events and what went down. Likely maybe even covering last two episodes that we can get to on the new Power Ghost. I mean not Ghost, but Power Force, such as and anything else. So we're gonna catch y'all on the next one, man.